Climate change, new idea to suck CO2 out of the air shows promise. Scientists have found a new way to capture carbon dioxide from the air and store it in the ocean. Click the link in the description for more information. The authors say this novel approach captures CO2 from the atmosphere 3 times more efficiently than existing methods. The warming gas can be converted into bicarbonate of soda and stored safely and cheaply in seawater. Experts say the new method could accelerate the deployment of carbon removal technology. While the world has struggled to limit and reduce carbon dioxide emissions in recent decades, many companies have instead focused on developing technology to remove CO2 from the atmosphere. What is carbon capture and can it fight climate change? UK costs from flood damage could rise by up to 20%. Attenborough shows us his brilliant nature. Historic ocean treaty agreed upon after decades of negotiations. Climawork is probably the most famous in Switzerland. Over the past 10 years it has developed machines that draw air from the atmosphere that filter and trap carbon dioxide molecules. At a plant in Iceland, the captured CO2 is injected deep underground where it is permanently turned to stone. The company recently began selling certified carbon removal services to large corporate customers including Microsoft, Spotify, and Stripe. However, a major problem for most current methods of direct aerial capture is cost. CO2, although a potent warming agent, is relatively diluted in the atmosphere at about 400 parts per million, ppm, in the air. Such large machines require large amounts of energy to absorb and discharge CO2. This new approach, say the scientists involved, promises far greater efficiency and lower cost than using off-the-shelf resins and other chemicals. The research team borrowed an approach used for applications in water, and tweaked the existing material to remove CO2 from the air. In tests, the new hybrid absorbent material was able to take up 3 times more CO2 than existing materials. To my knowledge, there is no absorbing material that, even at 100,000 parts per million, shows the potential that we get at its direct air capture of 400 parts per million, said lead author Professor Arup Sengupta from Lehigh University in the US. This simple ability to capture high amounts of CO2, in a small amount of material, is a unique aspect of our work. The development, while in its early stages, has been welcomed by others in the field. I'm pleased to see this paper in the published literature. It's very exciting, and it's a good opportunity to transform CO2 capture efforts, said Professor Catherine Peters from Princeton University, an expert in geological engineering, involved in research project. What's clever about this is that the starting point was a technology that was previously designed for applications in water. This advance applies this technology to the gas phase, a new idea.
The demonstrated performance for CO2 capture is promising. One of the big challenges in capturing CO2 is what to do with the trapped gas. Depositing it in old oil wells under land or sea is a widely used method. But the new paper shows that the captured CO2 can be converted into bicarbonate of soda and easily and safely stored in seawater with the addition of certain chemicals. Dr. Sengupta says he now wants to set up a spin-off company to further develop the technology. They believe that removing CO2 in this way will not only be key to limiting global temperature rise, but could also be directly empowering to developing countries. We have to take it to places like Bangladesh, Barbados or the Maldives. They also have a role to play. They can't just be bystanders who suffer. Some scientists are reluctant to place too much emphasis on new and emerging technologies such as direct wind capture because they fear it could undermine efforts by governments and individuals to cut carbon. But with the Paris Climate Accord's temperature limits under threat from rising emissions, many others feel that rapid deployment of direct air capture is the best hope of avoiding dangerous climate change in addition to massive cuts in carbon. It becomes even more important now that we are definitely in an overshoot regime where we have to withdraw carbon from the environment, said Professor Klaus Lechner, a pioneer in the field of CO2 removal. DAC has to be cheap to make a useful contribution. I hope it can do that. Professor Sengupta shares that optimism, believing that this new approach could remove CO2 for less than per ton. This research has been published in the journal Science Advances.